Yo, this a week ago we talked about the best characters to build for new players, and today we're going to talk about the best relics to build for new players. I wanted to start out kind of going over a bunch of these, right? We're going to go over quite a few. And the first off is this Musketeer and the healer set. And the healer set's kind of interesting, right? Because the 4-piece healer provides a skill point, and then 2 provides outgoing healing percent, and those are two decent effects. Very good on almost every healer in the game, even regardless of their scalings. And then the 4-piece Musketeer is a speed boost, and it also an attack boost as well. So if you have attack scaling characters, which is basically almost everyone, then it generally has some value. The 4-piece set is usually what you're going to run on it if you have a character like King Yun or support that wants a speed set. But of course, this application actually got kind of worse now that we have a messenger and hacker space that we'll talk about later, that has the speed buff but on a 2-piece. So there's a little bit less characters that really want to use 4-piece Musketeer, but 2-piece Musketeer is also generally very strong on a lot of characters. The 2-piece healing set is pretty broadly useful, and also sometimes if you're one of the nuts who are just going for the 0 cycle techs, then 4-piece healer is good for those 0 cycles. So it kind of borders, it's kind of the border here. It's pretty average with the healer set, but Musketeer is generally very useful with 2-piece. But because there is another 2-piece that also has the same effect as Musketeer, I will put it this for average for now. And this but in general, this is one of the more worthwhile. It probably will mark the top of average. It is the very top of average. And then for our next set, we're going to be talking about the World 6 set, where it's Inert Salsado and the Bellabog Preservation set. Inert Salsado boosts follow-up attack damage and ultimate damage, and the ultimate damage by 15% is actually very important on characters like Argenti, even if they don't actually have a follow attack themselves, is because their ults do so much more damage. And because there's so many follow-up characters that actually get decent utility off of this, Herta gets good Himeko, and Topaz likes this relic set a lot. Dr. Ratio, there's quite a lot of characters that like this relic set significantly. And while the ice set is a little bit unfortunately, Inert Salsado is just so good on the characters that it's good on, that it's just yeah, I'm gonna have to put it there, you know. And Inert Salsado, I really hate farming that set. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna hold it to you, but Inert Salsado is so good that it's yeah, you might want to farm it. Thankfully, though, there's a different set that came out recently that kind of lowers the need for Inert Salsado a little, and we'll talk about it later, but it's still a very solid application. Still is very good, painfully so. But yeah, the next set we're talking about is the 4-piece Eagle and the 4-piece Ice. 4-piece Ice is you'll see with some of the characters type relic sets that they're not actually that good on the characters of that type. 4-piece Ice is good on every single ice character though. Herta loves the set. Well, not every single ice DPS character. Because 4-piece Ice is very good on your Herta, it's very good on your Yanqing, it's very good on Yanqing, and it's very good on Jingliu. And because of those scenarios, it's very solid application. And not to mention, the set that I didn't really mention too much about is the Wind set. 4-piece Wind is actually very insane on supports, which you may not expect that as first, because most of these sets are if they're damaged, they're damaged, and they don't actually do a supportive tool. But because of the Eagle set 4-piece with the after the wear user's ultimate, their action is advanced by 25%. 4-piece Wind is actually pretty insane for characters like Pela. It actually has some niche opportunities for characters like March 7th. And sometimes, even though it can interfere with a character like Brandia, it could potentially be okay depending on how you use it. And there's, unfortunately, the Wind set though, the one interesting thing about it is the actual Wind characters don't really want Eagle too much. Brandia, it can become awkward to play Brandia if you're running 4-piece Eagle. It can become awkward to play Blade. Blade doesn't really like it too much, and Blade has his own signature set. Dan Heng, it's okay. It's okay on 4-piece Dan Heng for sure. But it's it's a little tougher. It's a little tougher to generally say Eagle is good, but it's definitely an okay set. As the supports using it is what really buffs it instead of the actual Wind characters, funny enough. And this is a very, very interesting one we're going to talk about next, and that is the Quantum set and the Guard set. The Guard set's a very average, kind of okay knit set, where it's very good on Fu Xuan. It's not really best on basically any other character, but because of how good the Quantum set is, it kind of goes up significantly. Because like in the ideal settings, Quantum set is like the best relic set on a lot of crit DPSs in the game and a lot of DPSs in general. And we're actually going to use a Ren Hero video here. I'll have the link to their channel in the description, and they're just talking about doctor ratio, right? But this applies with a lot of characters. Well, no quantum weakness with only 10% defense pen, well, the damage is a lot lower on ratio, right? But then when you see it with quantum weakness, right? Wait for it. The chalk. Way better. way better. And this is an important thing, right? And it makes the quantum set, because of this specific scenario where enemies with quantum weakness, it has become so much better. So you have Silverwolf is so much better. If you have the ideal enemy that this happens to be weak to quantum and weak to the same type of you, then your set is so much better. So because of that, I do have to give quantum to this very high. It's very high up there, right? And the next set we're going to talk about is the DOT set and the follow-up set. And the follow-up set, as we saw here with 2-piece doctor ratio doing okay damage, even though there's a new set now that we'll talk about later. And there's a lot of sets like that. Like Topaz is a very good user of the follow-up. A character we're going to get on the banner later in the next part of 2.0, and Jingyuan is also a best slot is follow-up attack set. And then we have characters like Clara, as we saw with Doctor Ratio, who can use 2-piece. Himeko, who's a very good character that can use the follow-up set too. And there's quite a few that can use it like pretty decently. And then the DOT set has the same thing with the Musketeer set, where 2-piece Musketeers is like super good on basically everyone. And then 2-piece DOT set is the same thing, where it's an attack increase by like 12%, and then also it's good on like every attack increase character. While it may not be the best install all the time, it's just so generally good that you can put on a lot of DPS characters and get decent enough value, right? And because of that, and also having it being the best install by like every DOT character in the game, essentially, it goes up to very solid application, and it's really what pushes Musketeer down for me ultimately. And the next set we're going to talk about is a set that was like pretty overlooked at the start of the game, but it's generally like been very good for a lot of like early strategies around like Pela, and this having like sprightly Von Whack and like more energy regen buff supports quite considerably. But because now there's a competing set in the Penacony Land of Dreams, which we'll talk about later, the actual value of Von Whack has gone down like kind of significantly, in my opinion. Even if you're not on like ideal settings for Penacony, that's because like Glamoff is a better grind target than Von Whack is. I mean, not Von Whack, but it's better grind target than Talia Kingdom of Banditry is, because Kingdom of Banditry is only really optimal on Zui Yi. And until that changes, I don't really think this set is like very high value. So I'm going to put it at average. It kind of borders on niche, honestly. Like, this set might honestly be niche, but it's kind of average just because, like, Sprightly Von Whack is very good, right? Sprightly Von Whack is pretty good. But I'll actually say it's probably pretty niche. We'll just leave it a niche. It's borderline, because, like, one part of this is niche. Like, the Break Effect set is niche. Sprightly Von Whack is average. Well, it actually goes with, like, very solid applications, right? So maybe we just even it out and put it in the middle. Von Whack has solid applications, and the other set is very niche, so we put it in average. we put in average. But next set we have is Lightning and Defense. And here's the thing. Defense 4-piece is very solid on defense scaling characters. Like, Japar likes it quite a bit. And then Fire MC is pretty good on. March is okay on too, though personally I prefer going like 4-piece Wind and this having like good substats, right? And because of like the good substat scenario, let's have good substats and then not run the set, it kind of makes it a bit harder for me to like justify 4-piece defense sometimes. And then importantly with like the lightning set, right? I talked about this a little with the DOT set, like how DOT is the best set on every dot character, and like the lightning character that's dot, Kafka, doesn't want to really run lightning set. While it is okay on Kafka, it is a bit worse. And then also with Jing Yuan, because of the follow-up set, you don't really want to run lightning set on him either. So it's like, damn. So I honestly feel like defense set's value kind of is taking a hit because of that, and the lightning set's value has kind of taken a hit as well. So like I kind of feel it's kind of niche, honestly. Like, it's okay. I mean, you can farm a few of these, but it's just like Serval is the only character that really uses the lightning set. And then the defense set has like more broad use, and like March can use it pretty well. Fire Trailblazer and Japard are good users of it. But in general, it's just like, it's kind of gone down a bit for me. It has kind of gone down a bit for me. Then next set we have is Space Stealing Station and what was it? Space Stealing Station and oh. Okay, so Space Stealing is very good. And then Free of the Ageless is pretty okay too. Free of the Ageless is like the DOT support set. And that's pretty niche, honestly. But because base, it's still like pretty average because like the application is just like overall, it's gonna work on basically almost every character, right? And even though like before when we started the game in 1.0, I would consider this a bus farm. But because we got like better support sets that have like more specific utilities, right? I kind of actually put this down like quite considerably. Like it could go up a bit because like I still think Flee the Ageless is very good, but I honestly kind of hold it down because like Free the Ageless with DOT is like very much here, but then it kind of goes down kind of considerably because it's no longer like best in slot. So it feels kind of like average to me. It feels very average to me. And honestly, like ideal with DOT, I think like Kafka wants to run Glamoth, and I think like your Black Swan wants to run the effect hit rate set that we'll talk about later. And that honestly kind of puts that in average for me, personally. And then the break effect set and the physical set, this is a hard one because like Clara is a very good physical set abuser, right? Physical set is insane on Clara. And then break set is pretty good on like Ron Mei and Zui Yi. But the problem of using the break effect set, right? On Zui Yi, if you're hitting your thresholds, I mean, you're a quantum character and you're not running in the quantum set. You know? You're a quantum and you're not running quantum set. Like quantum set's so good. Quantum set is insane. So like no, even if you're not reaching the thresholds by a little bit, I don't know how much I would actually want to run the break effect set. So like I kind of view it as niche, honestly. I kind of view it as niche. Even though like two-piece break effect of both like new break effect set, the new break effect and this set is like pretty good for like Ron Mei and making her easier to build and maybe some like break effect characters we get down the line. I think it's just like, it's gonna be niche for me. And then we have the fire set and the imaginary set. Well, this is an interesting one because the imaginary set, we did get Dr. Ratio, and that is his best in slot if and only if you have Welt. And then we have the fire set where its main thing is it boosts skill damage, and then after your ult, then it boosts fire damage, has a fire damage boost, right? But the thing is, Himeko and Topaz, right? They use follow-ups. They use follow-ups quite considerably, and their skills aren't necessarily one of their main sources of damage either. So this becomes like a hook set, and the imaginary set becomes it's 4-piece best on Welt, and it's only 4-piece best on Dr. Ratio if you have Welt on your team. So like that kind of makes it a premier case for niche. It makes it very, very niche. Very, very, very niche, right? And then our next set we're going to talk about is the crit damage set. And then we're going to talk about the effect hit rate set. And the effect hit rate set, I actually viewed it pretty horribly before we got to this patch specifically. Because like increase the wearer's effect hit rate by 10%. Meanwhile, the wearer's attack increases by an amount that is equal to 25% of the current effect hit rate up to a maximum of 25%. So essentially you need to have like 250% effect hit rate to cap it out at 25%. But there's no character that really wants, wait, not 20, it's 250, what was it saying? 125, is that right? 125. So you want to have like a ridiculously high effect hit rate number to actually be able to cap this out. And because of that, there's not very many characters that really want to use it. Like technically Silverwolf as a DPS can use it pretty well, but Silverwolf support, why not just run Keel on Silverwolf instead? You know, like sub DPS Silverwolf, this is a set that has some niche for sub DPS Silverwolf for sure. But mainly what pushed this Relic set up is Black Swan. Black Swan alone kind of is best in slot with this set by like a great value set for her. and she is really the character designed for this set. And because of that, like, it's now moved up a bit for me, but there's one problem. There is one significant problem, and that is the crit damage on Celestial Differentiator. Increases the wearer's crit damage by 16%. That's okay, it's okay, but it's not that much, right? Not that much yet. And then you look at this, right? When the wearer's current crit damage reaches 120% or higher after entering battle, the wearer's crit rate increases by 60%. You know, it sounds like a good effect, right? It sounds like a pretty good effect. And then it says until the end of their first attack. And this is one of the worst relic sets in the game. To be very blunt with you, this relic set is super bad. So much so that I made a whole tier with this. The saying, for the love of God, do anything you can to avoid farming this, even though I know it's best in slot for Black Swan. You'll feel horrible every time you get Celestial Differentiator. Like, technically it can be some value, but it's never going to be best on any character. It's never going to even be half decent on any character. It's just a very bad relic set. But if you want to farm it for Black Swan, go ahead, you know, like for the effective rate, I could understand it, you know. I've seen Black Swan before. I've seen Black Swan. But yeah, the next set we're going to talk about is the brand new set that was added to 2.0, and that is the Watchmaker set, and this is the debuff set. And I'm going to say it right away, the debuff set actually has a few characters that can run it quite well. Because of how the debuff set works, right, it is a higher damage buff with the Pioneer Diver Dead Waters. You get a 12% damage buff, increased damage dealt to enemies with a debuff. And this is like something you can apply pretty easily, right? Characters like Dr. Rachel applies a debuff. You have a support like Pela. You have a support like Silverwolf. Like basically any Nihility character in the game, you're getting increased damage dealt. So like that's pretty okay. And there's also a few DPSs. To list the DPSs that apply the debuff, like the fourth effect where you increase crit rate by 4%, the wearer deals 8 to 12% increased crit damage to enemies with at least 2 or 3. But the main thing about this, the effect essentially doubles to 8% crit rate, and it goes to like 16-24% crit damage when you are inflicting a debuff as well. So a character like Dr. Ratio, your Hook, who can apply debuff on their stuff, your Don Hung, who can apply debuffs, your Welt, who can apply those. Like, there's a few characters that apply debuffs on enemy targets. So this is a very, very unique effect that specifically is very, very strong on Dr. Ratio. But I do want to add a little bit of theory to this. Like, I know it's not necessarily the best to always provide some theory into this, but we did get another Lightning Nihility character in Acheron in Drip Marketing. And notably, we already had a Lightning 5-star Nihility character in Kafka who procced in DOT. And if you know about the Nihility class, they either provide debuffs or DOT. So this means Acheron is on the debuff side of things. So it's better to use Acheron on this set, I would think. I would think. And I also think Acheron will probably be best in slot on this specific set. Of course, this could be wrong if Acheron herself isn't applying debuffs, but like that's the only other side to the Nihility spectrum. And of course, like DPS Silverwolf can run this set too. So like I kind of hold that pretty highly. And then we have Watchmaker's Telescoping Lens. And this is another break effect set, but instead of like when the wearer inflicts weakness break on enemy regenerate energy, you get, and when the wearer uses their ultimate on ally, break effect for all allies increases by 30% for 2 turns. This effect cannot be stacked. And what this means is this is the only 4-piece that boost team damage on ultimate. Even though it's pretty limited because it's this 30% break effect buff, it's still buffing your team damage. So it has some general utility, even apart from Ranmei, right? Of course, I do think this utility is generally pretty low, but it's still technically a damage buff for your whole team on a 4-piece, which is an idea that we haven't seen from any 4-pieces yet. Even with the note that it can't be stacked. So personally, I rate that very, very highly. I know some other people may not rate it as highly as I do, but I consider it very solid applications, right? Because like I think the debuff set's incredible, and I think like it will have a lot of application on a lot of characters for like longer in the game too. I think it's best in slot for Acheron, who's coming, and I think it's going to be a set to farm. But this is one of the ones that I think has a lot more stipulations on it. For sure, for sure. And then now to some World 8 set on Simulated Universe, we have the Penacony Land of Dreams and Glamoth. I don't even think I need to say this. But if you don't know what Penacony Land of Dream does, you know how I said Sprightly Von Whack, this gives you energy regenerate and advance forward, and it's pretty okay, right? Pretty good, pretty good. Pela with that. Penacony boosts damage as well, 10%. So it's like running a broken keel, but you just get it for free. Just get it for free. It's insane. It's crazy. With the energy regenerate as well, like even though it's a little more situational to get that damage buff, even on non-monotype teams, because energy regenerate is just that good, it's pretty good. Like, it's going to improve your cycles, then just run it, right? And then Glamoth. Glamoth is the best relic set to farm. DOT characters use it. If you reach thresholds as well, crit characters use it. Basically, any character in the game can run Glamoth if they're a damage dealer and run it well, as if, except like if you like Clara, you're not going to run it because like you don't want speed on your Clara, but if you can have a support that buffs your speed, or you have a lot of speed stats on your character, then Glamoth is just like universally beneficial. So it's just very, very good. I probably want to run on like a blade or like HP scalers, but like it's still just so solid, so good that it's just like a must farm for basically every account this relic set is in this relic domain. And then we have Broken Keel in Regional Arena. This is mainly for crit characters, but most crit characters in this game are crit. Like, if you have a DOT character and you're only playing DOT, then it's like, you know, it's kind of down. You don't really need this anymore. But because most characters in the game are crit characters, I do think this is in general very, very valuable because of Broken Keel's buff is just very good. I do think it's a little bit less valuable than Glamoth and Penacony, but because it's just like an easier buff and you actually can easily get the damage buff on any like crit character, and it's also effect res for supports for the Broken Keel, which effect res is a very good stat for supports to not get imprisoned, a very good stat for healer. Getting imprisoned is very bad for those two classes. So yeah, that is super, super valuable. And now we have the Messenger and the Health set. As we talked about earlier with Musketeer, before I would consider Musketeer a top tier, like must farm, very solid application set. But because of the Messenger 2-piece giving you a speed buff, it's now very, very much the best set to farm, in my opinion, outside of the Glamoth Penacony set. I would probably put it at the top, honestly. And because of that, Messenger increased speed is good on like every single support in the game. And then with whereas Ultimate on Ally, of course this can mess you up, so you have to be careful about using your 4-piece and your speed tuning, because increasing speed is based on your base stat. Everything that you're seeing here is based on your base stat plus maybe your light cone as well, plus your light cone as well, if the light cone boosts that stat. Though we don't have a speed stat light cone that boosts speed that way. But yeah, so when you open the more text and you see your base stat, that's where the increase is going. And but why this is important is if you have like a character like Bronya and they use their wearer uses their ultimate on an ally, and the Bronya ult makes you faster than your ally, then you're not getting as much value from Bronya. So that is something important to remember. But in general, that 4-pieces is insanely good for a wide variety of characters, and the 2-piece is good on like basically every character. So yeah, that's easy must farm. And yep, this is my overall thoughts. Let me know what you want to think about this in the comments, right? Because like ultimately I am one person, right? I am one person. I'm going to get a few things different than what other people think. And if we just compare those things in the comment like we did for the best characters to build video, like I'll be real to talk about this for a second. I don't like, well, yeah, I already said this in the video, right? Where's the Yukong one? Where's the Yukong one? Wait, where's the Yukong? Someone was talking about Yukong. But yeah, I'll link this video in the description as well. Wait, Yukong, where's Yukong? Yukong. Yeah, this one. Like, this is a stipulation where, like, I don't necessarily fully agree with it, but, like, it's a very good point. Yukon is hard to play, and there's going to be the same case with, like, relics as well, right? Where some relics, some people are going to see them as higher value, and I will be, like, engaging in, like, kind of the discussion over this, and we do have a Discord as well that I will put in the description as well if you want to talk about it with me there, but it's also kind of Pokemon stuff, too. But so there's a couple things that you have a problem with, you think other players should know about before they like farm, then leave them in the comments. I read all the comments, I will respond to them, give like some of my thoughts and my perspective, and my perspective may be different from yours, but this is my general perspective and how I personally would approach the game as a new player. And I think like this should be generally pretty helpful for a lot of people. And yeah, that's it for this video. Let me know what other video ideas you want me to do. If there's a specific topic you want me to cover. I know these aren't like the most professional videos in the world, right? But it's just kind of new creator that's going about giving his thoughts, and eventually maybe these will be more professional. But for now, this is thoughts. Let me know if you like it. Adios.